Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor and a little bit of gouache, and today we're doing a gouache tutorial called Forever Field. Fun, quick. Actually, I don't really know if it's quick, but it is fun. So we are going to do this tutorial in 5 steps. So our very first step, we are going to do the sky. Our second step, we are going to put in our mountains. Our third step, we're going to do our field. Our fourth step, we're going to do another layer on our field, kind of like these brush marks here. And our very last step is the details, which is kind of right here in the foreground. We're going to be using 5 colors for this project. So our first color is carmine. Our second color is turquoise blue. Our third color is permanent yellow deep. Our fourth color is ivory black, and that fifth color that you probably can't see is permanent white.
Can't see it at all.
That's okay. So we're using the Holbein gouache. We have some Legion cold press paper. We're using our round 6 and our round 2 brushes. If you have a wash brush, this is a 3/4 inch, just any kind of wash brush, that would actually probably be helpful. It's not necessary. I'm going to use my 6. Maybe I'll show you the wash on just how it works. But whenever you're doing landscapes, wash brushes are nice to have. Okay. Let's do our outline and then our oath, and then let's get started. So I have our just a sketch here for you of what our outline is. Remember to tape it down so you don't lose your spot. I also taped down the edges of my paper because I wanted a clean edge. And then you're going to put your graphite paper dark shiny side down and just start making a line. I mean, just start tracing.
Just put a line anywhere.
Just draw a line.
X marks the spot.
There you go. Remember, with outlines, there's suggestions and general ideas. You don't have to follow them exactly. It's just a good starting place. I want you to make this your own. But sometimes it's really scary if you're like not comfortable drawing and stuff. So
yeah, I appreciate this one having an outline.
Yeah, I love painting landscapes. It's funny because in a previous tutorial, Michael asked me like what I struggle with painting, and I said landscapes. I think I probably meant cityscapes a little bit more, but at that time I wasn't doing landscapes very often, so I struggled with them, and like since then I've kind of really fallen in love painting them. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of show you guys how to do it, and sometimes you need a little outline. And these like grass areas, they don't need to be exact. Very rarely, like when we do stuff like this, I don't exactly trace every single one. I just do some there as general, and then give you guys the freedom to add as you see fit. Okay. So let's do our oath. You can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Oh, also, I was going to start with this, but I didn't. Look at these gorgeous masks that Cat made for us.
So bright.
Aren't they beautiful? They're watercolor swatches. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. It's actually better.
Really?
No. It's the same.
Anyways, I thought these were beautiful, and thank you, Kat, for making these and sending them. She sent us a really sweet note as well, so I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best.
You're so
okay.
Nice.
You're so nice. Thank you for being so
Why don't we do the
amazing.
whole tutorial while whispering?
I just love you.
That sounds bad.
Okay. This is your first time painting with us. That's Keenan talking, actually.
Sorry for just saying things in the background.
He's our camera guy. He tells me where to look. Okay. So we're going to do our sky. And I want to make like a pinky peach color. So I'm going to get some white and some carmine and some yellow. And you can see my Butcher palette is dirty from last time, which is fine because these paints reconstitute, but I am starting some fresh new piles for my sky. But if I need to, like when I'm doing my ground or something, I might pull from what's already dry on the palette. Okay, here we go. Got my round 6. Get it wet, hit it off the side of the cup. Take some white. Can they see my palette good?
Yes, that spot specifically.
Great. White, grab a tiny, tiny bit of carmine. Not a lot, like just a dab. Mix that in with your white. And then grab a little bit of yellow to give it a warmth so it's kind of like a peachy color. Might go a little bit darker. Oh, that's too dark. That's fine. Put some more white in there. This is why mixing colors I think is fun. I can always adjust to it. A little bit more yellow. Maybe a little bit more yellow. Now, I'm just putting enough water to make it smooth on my brush. I'm not putting as much water as I would doing watercolor. Okay, now I got a nice smooth consistency. I have a decent amount of paint, and I'm gonna start at the top and just paint. Now, if you want to use just a little bit of water to help spread it, that's fine. But if you're used to watercolor, you're gonna wanna keep dunking that brush into your water. And that's just gonna keep on thinning out your paint, which is not what we wanna do. We wanna keep this pretty thick and pretty opaque, especially near the top. So only try and add as little water as you can, which like for me is so hard because I just wanna keep grabbing water. So I'm really just kind of, but you can see here I added too much water. I want to show you what it looks like. This is a good amount of paint. This is what it looks like if I add too much water. You see it's becoming more transparent. So we still want that opaque feeling. If you add too much water, it's not a big deal. You can just cover it right up with another layer of paint. I basically just add the water to kind of like fill in these creases. Okay. And then to lighten it, because I want to have a value change on my sky to communicate depth, I'm just going to just keep adding a little bit of white to the mixture as I work my way down. Now this is where a wash brush would be super handy. So if I have a wash here, it just is a little bit quicker for me to lay down these colors. And this is this is really the exciting thing about gouache is, let's say you do your first layer and you're like, man, that sky is just not really the color that I wanted. I kind of wanted to make it more yellow or whatever. Let it dry. You can do another wash over it. As long as you have a decent amount of paint on your brush, you can just layer it. Now, at this point, I'm going to use mostly water to get down to my mountains. So I started with my dark peach. I lightened it with white, and now I'm going to utilize the water to blend it down. And it's okay if you cross the lines, as in it's okay if you paint over your mountains and paint over your grass, because it is opaque. So we'll just cover it right up. I'm going to switch back to my 6. Try to make sure you go edge to edge since we're trying to do a clean edge here. And you can even see here in my reference photo that I started pretty opaque, and then as it went down, I kind of watered and thinned it out. That's why you can really pick up that texture on the sky. You see that?
I love that. I thought it was going to be like two separate colors completely, but it's just that one mix.
Yeah, it's just that kind of peach mix.
Yeah.
And then to get a lighter value, just keep adding white to it, and then I just thinned it out at the bottom, mostly because it just made it easier to spread. You can keep going with just keep on adding white to it if you want.
Gouache is pretty cool.
I love it, I really do. Okay, so there's my sky, that's step one. Now we're gonna do step two, which is our mountains, which I love this. This is like a really dark purple, which I think is a gorgeous color. So I'm going to mix I have some blue here left on my palette. And just so you guys know, as gouache dries, it cracks. Okay, you can kind of see my carmine there has cracked. You can still reconstitute it, but if you were trying to like do some gouache like dried out in like cake pans, like watercolor, it could crack, just so you know. Okay, so I have my turquoise, and I'm gonna grab some carmine and try and make a dark purple. If you need to mix some black in there as well to make it nice and dark, you can. That's a good color. Okay, and mine's dry, so I'm just gonna paint right over it. And this one I want it to be pretty opaque, pretty thick. Again, it's not a huge deal if you paint over your edge a little bit on your grass. There's Oscar. Hi Oscar, thanks for joining us. He likes this purple mountain color too. And again, you guys, this is your painting, so maybe these mountains turn into trees and you have like really dark purpley trees in the distance. That would actually be really cool. Or you want to do taller ones. Maybe you're thinking of a different mountain line. Sounded like I said mountain lion.
Mountain lion. Hey, that'd be a cool one.
Yeah, it would. Because these aren't like super tall. I need to stop talking about mountains because I just don't know that much about them. I wanted to go more into details of like suggested mountain ranges they could paint, and then I thought, why would you try and embarrass yourself, Sarah?
And I wish I could help.
Okay, that's it. That's step two. Great job, you guys. You're doing amazing. We're gonna keep going. Now we're gonna do our field. So I'm gonna do a similar thing that we did with our sky, which is I'm gonna kind of ride that line between not any water and too much water. Okay, so let me get I'm gonna get some fresh yellow on my palette. And as you can see, everybody has the right to organize their palettes different ways. I am not very methodical when it comes to putting paint on my palette. It would make sense to like keep all the yellows in an area. My brain just doesn't work that way. So I just do wherever there's space. But you guys can set it up however you want. Don't feel like my way is the only way or the best way. It's just the way that I work. Yes?
I have a cool idea, I think.
Okay.
Okay, picture this. Butcher tray. Check.
Okay.
Step two. Do you know the brownie pans that have, like, they make all edged brownies?
Yes.
Picture that as a butcher tray.
Okay.
You can divide your colors in those sections individually.
Yes. That would be really cool.
That'd be pretty neat.
I wouldn't use it. But I think, well, I feel like just having that edge there, it would stress me out because then I couldn't blend,
what if it's not
mix the colors.
What if it's not that deep? Okay, so we have to, so you're saying they might spill into each other.
What I'm saying is I like that I can have blue up here and red down here, and then if I want to mix right in that middle, I can.
Okay.
I can pull all the colors and mix wherever I want.
I'll revise my idea. I'll create a new butcher tray.
That's why this butcher tray works great for me, because I have all the, but there are a lot of people that like to have it sectioned and organized. And those people, that would be an amazing idea.
Okay.
So I'm not saying don't give up on your dream.
Good save,
Make it.
Sarah. Thank you.
Someone will love it and they'll buy it. I just won't be the customer.
I don't think a shallow brownie pan just in the middle will be very great. It's like, oh, we tried to make edges, but we made half-cut brownies.
We couldn't decide what we wanted to do. Okay, now we're back to painting. Now it's serious time. Okay, I mixed my yellow with my blue to get a really, really yellowy green. And you can tell here that I actually switch up the colors of green. So at the top, I'm gonna start with like more of a yellow green. And then as I work my way down, it's gonna become more green. And then down here, it's gonna be dark green, okay? So I have my yellowy color. And if you wanna give it like a brown feel, kind of like dried grass or something like that, if you mix a little bit of red in there, just a tiny bit, or maybe black, that will kind of desaturate that color. So I'm gonna lay this color down. Ooh, I actually really love this color next to the pink and the purple. So I'm gonna keep it.
Nice.
Okay, I painted into my mountains a little bit, but that's okay because I can go back when that dries and just cover it back up. I'm kind of just putting my line, and then I'm gonna use water to spread this out.
I kind of like how the mountain like got a little smeared into the green.
I do too, right there.
Yeah.
I'm leaving that. It looks really nice. So I'm kind of just using water. And then now is kind of where I'm gonna start picking up a little bit more blue into my mixture. What we want is a change in color, because that is what's going to communicate depth and space, especially in a landscape painting. You can achieve the feeling of depth and space in a landscape by switching the hue, which is the color, which is what we're doing, or the value, which is the lightness and darkness of a color, which in watercolor is usually how we communicate space, is through value. This, we're kind of actually changing it by the color. So you can see I'm kind of doing a similar how we do watercolor, where I'm laying down the color and then I'm kind of just using water to spread it out. I'm okay if I'm getting some hard edges, some kind of blots of color and things like that, because if you look at a field of grass, especially an expansive field, it just goes. And within that, there are patches. There's patches of different kinds of grass. There's patches of flowers maybe. There's patches of different things. So don't be afraid if maybe your painting has like a patch of color here or a patch of color here, because depending on the field, that would be true. I'm going to keep adding blue. Using my round, and again, if you have a wash, this would be a great time to use it. I'm going to keep using my round. Okay, and then down here, like the most foreground part, I want to make sure that it's a nice dark green. So I'm going to get my blue, I'm going to get my yellow, and I'm going to grab a tiny bit of black that I already have some dried, so I'm just going to pull from that since I don't need a ton. And that's what I'm going to paint down here with. Okay, so that was step make sure. 3. Okay, and now is kind of where we go back and we kind of finesse our field a little bit. We do another layer of color or any adjustments that we see. So what I want you guys to notice in our reference photo is the stuff that's in the foreground, it's tall. And then as we push our way back more into the field, these chunks of flowers or grass, they get thinner. And that's because if you were to see something in person, if you're standing in front of the field and if there's flowers right in front of you, you would see flowers, okay? And then if you look up and pass deep into that field, you would actually only see the very tops of those flowers, okay? Because you're not standing right next to it. And so that's kind of what we're communicating here, is that this is up front, so this is what we're gonna see nice and tall. And then as we make our way back into the field, we're actually really only seeing the top of it and a little bit of it, and that's why it's thin and not very detailed. If I were to do this same section, right, like take this and copy and paste it and put it back here, it would kill my perspective, it would kill my sense of depth, because we would not be able to see this in its height as much detail if it was far away from us, okay? So, I am going to put in, and this is also where you can kind of check your colors too. And with gouache, if maybe you don't like how bright this yellow is, you want to tone it down, you can do another layer right on top of it. If you like it, you can leave it. Maybe it's not bright enough for you, do another layer right on top of it. This is the joy of gouache, my friend. It's opaque, we can just cover. But we can also add water to it and get these gorgeous blooms. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so now I'm going to go through and kind of, if I can see my outline still. I'm going to do some little detail marks there. So I'm going to mix this light green with a little bit of black. And like here, I'm just going to put in.
I had to look really close to find your outline.
Yeah, your outline is not going to be super visible because this is an opaque medium. If you did lose it though, don't stress. You can look at your reference photo. You can just make it up. This is your painting. You can try something new. You can do something different. Okay. And then up here, there would be like a lot thinner. So if you need to use your round 2 for this, you can. I feel like I need to go a little bit darker here so you can see it. And I'm going to do a little bit darker here. Now the biggest thing, and I can catch myself doing it, which is why I'm saying it, is our brains like to make patterns. So even with these marks that we're adding in here, your brain is going to want to do them evenly spaced, the same length, here, 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 which is going to make a really obvious pattern on your painting. So if you're noticing it, kind of switch it up a little bit, where maybe do like an extra little short one randomly somewhere, or, you know, adjust it so it's not super obvious.
So it doesn't look man-made.
Yes. And I'm just kind of filling in some of this space here, making sure my edges are all painted in. I just love these colors together.
I know.
I really
so
do.
Awesome.
It's probably not, it's probably like not exact what you would see in person, but gosh, that is the fun of being able to make your own worlds.
I mean, if we had mountains in Missouri, this is what it would look like. Very green, very
Yeah.
pink sky.
I know, I love it. And I just feel like I need to do a little extra layer of green here. I'm not sure why, it just feels right. Again, just make sure that you have a color difference between here and here. you want it to change as you go. If it's one flat color and one flat value, it's going to feel very flat.
Oh.
As in, it won't communicate depth. Okay, now we're on to our very last step, which is where we're going to go in and kind of put in our detailed grass and things like that. So these areas that are far away in the distance, we would not put details there. It's too far away that we actually won't see it. It kind of just blends in with everything around it. But we'll still see the detail here and here. That's what we're going to focus on. So I'm going to switch to my 2, and we're going to do this in a series of steps. So first I'm going to do long grass that's dark. So I'm going to take that same dark green that I have mixed. I'm adding a little extra blue to it. And I'm going to do some pieces of grass kind of sticking out from it. If you want to practice on a scratch paper first, this is how I do my marks. So I'm just using my 2, light pressure. I'm just kind of like flicking my wrist. And I'm doing it in both directions. I'm kind of lifting my brush off at the end so it thins out. So I'm not doing like a strong line like that. I want it to get thinner at the top. So that's why I'm lifting kind of away. Pressing down, lifting away.
It's the same technique to cut your hair. Flick of the wrist.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't cut hair.
Oh. Huh.
Keenan. I guess that's the same technique for cutting hair. So you just, and if you need to exaggerate that movement where you're like, do what you got to do. No shame. And again, the more you do these marks, like the less each individual one is going to stand out. So like, don't stress too much about it. Remember to play with different lengths and play with different directions. If you want them to be going all of the same direction, you can. Just keep in mind that compositionally, that will create an implied line within your painting. So if you want your viewer, if you like have a sunset or something right here, it actually might be kind of cool to have all of your grass point this way, because then our eye will just like go there. But this is the fun part for you guys, because you guys get to decide that. So I'm having some come up in the back and also the front. So you're seeing the tops here and also the bottom of some. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Because the tall grass isn't growing in the same exact spot everywhere.
Right. We want to communicate that this is still going and doesn't just like start. If there was like a road there, it would make sense for it to...
Ooh, that would look cool.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of the same thing, but because it's pushed a little bit farther, the height isn't going to be as high. So it's the same thing, but like shorter. Okay. Now I'm just going to add white to that mixture to get a light green. And this is why gouache is so fun, my friends, because we're going to do a light value on top of this dark value.
I bet this is what it looks like somewhere in Wyoming.
In where?
Wyoming, the
Oh.
state.
Yeah, probably.
It's in the,
If you're
it's in
from,
the United States.
if you're, I'm not familiar. If you're from Wyoming, let us know. Or if you've been to a place that kind of has the same feeling. This does remind me of Missouri, minus the mountains, like this green, the colorful sky, expansive fields. That's Missouri all the way. Okay, so I have my light green, and I'm going to do the same thing, just start kind of putting it in. And you can do different versions of light green, like maybe you want a medium green in here. Since we have the dark, we have a light You can put a medium. Have fun with it. This is why gouache is so fun. We're layering right on top and it's showing up. It's so great. And then I'm going to do a couple of lighter ones here. Okay, and now we're just going to add little dot flowers, and that's our very last step. So I'm going to use my round 2, and just on some of these grass, like blades of grass or weeds or whatever they are, I'm going to take my paintbrush and just do kind of white dots up the top of it. I was not thinking of a specific flower in mind when I did this, so if you are painting a specific place and you're like, no, they actually have like blue bonnets here, which is Texas, actually, that would be beautiful.
That would be.
You can make these dots be more similar to a flower you're trying to replicate.
These ones make me think of Queen Anne's lace a little bit.
Yeah, if I were to do Queen Anne's lace is more rounded, so it would be kind of more like this.
Yeah.
Where that feels more like a stem of, I don't know if there's a flower that exists like that, but.
There is.
Okay, great. So I'll do both. You can even do like dandelions here or something. I have a love for dandelions.
My mom used to pay me a penny per dandelion that I would pick out of the yard.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get rid of them?
I didn't realize how little money a penny was, but how many dandelions there were in the yard.
It seemed like a great idea at the time.
Yes. Well, I mean, I picked somewhere around 700 dandelions.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
so you
yeah.
got $7.
$7. I tried to recruit friends. She said it didn't count. That seemed like a scam.
Okay, and it's totally up to you how much white you do. You don't even have to do white. You can do any color, red or pink or blue, whatever you want. I did white because I like it. I think it brought a nice pop to it. Okay, now we get to untape it. This is the best part. Okay, so very carefully, I'm going to pull my painter's tape close to the edge and then away from it. Somebody told us that if you use a heat gun or a blow dryer to warm up your tape before you remove it, then you most likely will not tear your paper because that heat kind of melts the adhesive a little bit. And somebody tried it and they said it worked.
Nice.
So if you guys,
been tested.
It's been tested. So if you want to give that a try, if you have a hard time with your paper tearing.
4 out of 5 doctors recommend. That 5th one though.
4 out of 5 artists recommend heating up your tape. I am the one that doesn't because I just haven't tried it. I'm sure it works, so it makes sense.
I mean, in your defense, you're literally recommending it right now.
I'm the one that's recommending it with no proof. It's 10:47. Okay. So I'm just pulling slowly, carefully, softly, and gently. And look at that clean line, my friends. Oh, yes. I always get crinkled tape like stuck to everything.
What's funny is they think we clean up the tape after the fact.
I throw that as if I'm not the person that has to clean that up. I gotta clean that up. That's me. Okay. Here it is, you guys. Our forever field. This is such a fun project. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Please feel free to make this how you would want to make it. You can easily exchange the sky out for a blue sky. You can easily exchange the field out for a wildflower field with many different colors. Just remember, in order to communicate depth, we start tall, and then as it works its way into the field, it gets smaller, shorter, and shorter, and shorter, okay? Look at pictures, look at fields around you to kind of visualize what it is that you're looking at. share it. You can tag us on Instagram at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. You can also share on Facebook. We have a wonderful watercolor group that is made for just sharing your work, so you guys can learn from each other as well as from us. So that's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. And if you need any of these supplies, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. I absolutely loved painting this project. I hope you guys had a great time, and I'll see you next week. Bye.